action, tough decisions. We've aggressively expanded the cap on that program to $30 million. We don't know where the Senate's going to be on that, but we do know that goes right after layoffs. And we had thankfully, we had some immediate consensus with our Democrat friends in the House, and we're able to pass that piece of the bill.
Representative Moda, there were some complaints by members on your side of the aisle that it wasn't as bipartisan as it should be, wasn't enough discussion of some of the amendments. Were you satisfied, not satisfied? Where did you think it fell?
Well, you know, several of our members got important amendments into the bill on the floor. For example, Representative Frame did an important tax credit for when you buy a Missouri vehicle. I view as my job as minority leaders continually be an advocate for accountability and for my caucus. So we did good. I'm always going to want more. I'm always going to want more voice into this because I think some of the ideas of job training, some of the other ideas are good ideas. The thing I'm most confident about is, and I'm very optimistic, is that I have the Speaker, the Chairman, and the Ranking Member's assurance that when we go through these other programs, these ideas will be discussed. I'm not under any delusion that they're going to be passed, but the idea that we're all sitting at the same table, rolling up our sleeves, is very encouraging for the people of Missouri.
Anybody else got anything you want to ask anybody?
You had mentioned on the floor today that tax credits aren't necessarily your favorite economic development tool.
No, I think I think actually tax credits, at least from my personal perspective, is it's one of those things that Democrats and Republicans have formed through their philosophical differences as a compromise on incentives. I at a personal level believe that the fastest way to really change an economy is to do across-the-board tax cuts for businesses and get away from tax credits and just go with a really good policy on taxes in general, and that will really sustain the economy. You've seen in places like Ireland and Poland and those places where they use what they called back in the day economic shock therapy to make significant changes to turn their economies around. So I believe in that. But when we get into those issues, I have to recognize that the minority has a very strong philosophical view on tax cuts for corporations, and I have to recognize, as the chairman of the Economic Development Committee, and our party has to recognize that other states are doing these programs as well, which puts us in competition with them. So, in an effort to govern with respect for all ideas, we focus in on targeted tax relief as a compromise, and as you can see, we can get some agreement from our Democrat friends on targeted tax relief. So we have zeroed in on those things and are using that as our driver. In the absence of ability to pass things that we otherwise like to do, we certainly will come to the middle and find ways to agree and keep our state competitive.
Are there any bills out there that either you see as possible this year that would just reduce corporate income tax or personal property tax?
We have a bill. We have some legislation being discussed, at least primarily, and filed. A discussion on both sides of the aisle that address property tax relief and income tax as part. We have Mike Sutherland has a number of bills. We haven't been heard yet, but I suspect something coming. But we do address that, at least in theory.
Do you think that could be part of one of the components by the end of the session here, or?
And I haven't talked to Paul, but it'd be my goal that if we get some dollars from the Fed, that we would, at least our side of the aisle, like send some back and some tax relief.
Okay, so use the stimulus money to make short-term tax cuts of some sort?
One-time expenditures, yes.
Okay.
Representative Fluke, you mentioned a couple of times other states. Is the competition